welcome back to part 5 of the exam pack for June 2023. Right, so in this part 5, the last part, we're looking at another function question. However, in this question, the sketch is given to you and you are asked to interpret it and to make a few assumptions or to answer a few questions. Now, before we even worry about the questions, let's have a look at what they gave us. Right, so they say sketch below are the graphs G and H. Then they tell us that g of x is equal to b to the power of x plus c. So really from that, I need to know that my g graph, the one I'm highlighting in green now, is an exponential function, or in Afrikaans, an exponentiële functie. Right, then it also gives me h of x, which is equal to k over x. So we know whenever x is in my denominator, wanneer ook al x in my numerus, I know that I have a hyperbola. Alright, or in Afrikaans, a hyperbool. So that is my blue graph. Alright, and then we also tell us that A is the point of intersection of G and H, which is the point 1, 1. Point of intersection Afrikaans is jou snypunt. Dis waar jou twee lyne bymekaar kom en mekaar sny. So my first question I want to do is I want to work out the formula of g of x as well as h of x. Alright, now let's quickly do h of x first. So at the moment I have that it is k over x. Now we know that my asymptote in this case, no asymptote has been indicated, so I know that my asymptote is actually the point y equals to 0. That's why they did not give us a q, because there isn't. Your q is at this moment, it is 0. Alright, so you can either write plus 0 or you can just take it away. Alright, then we have to have another random point. So the random point we have is 1, 1. And I'm always going to substitute that into my equation to get my unknown values. So in y's place I'm putting a 1, and in x place I'm putting my another 1. So this gives me that 1 is equal to k. Meaning that the formula of my hyperbola will be h of x equals to 1 over x. Alright, now let's do the same. Let's work out for g of x. So they gave us that g of x is equal to b to the power of x plus c. Now once again, we know that our c value is usually our asymptote. Alright, now in this case, we cannot see what our asymptote is, but we can definitely see that it is not my x-intercept or my x-axis, which is this line here. Alright, so we're going to take two random points, so I can see that I have a point there, and I also have my A. Alright, so let's put in the y-intercept first. So between 1 and 2, I have 1.5, so it will be the point 0. And then 1.5 we can also write as 3 over 2. So we're substituting that in, so I have 3 over 2 equals to b to the power of 0 plus c. Now anything to the power of 0 always becomes 1, and then I have my plus c, so I'm taking over the 1, it becomes negative 1, so 3 over 2 minus 1 equals to c, and if I calculate that, 3 over 2 minus 1 is a half. Right, so now I know that g of x so far is equal to b to the power of x plus 1 over 2. Now I have to look for another point. So another point I have is point A, which is the point 1, 1. So I'm substituting that in. So in g's place, or g of x, I'm putting a 1. In x's place, I'm putting a 1. And then I have my plus a half. Alright, so we're taking over a half, it becomes 1 minus a half equals to b, and 1 minus half is a half equals to b. Meaning that my formula for g of x will be g of x equals to a half x plus half. Alright, so that is the formula of my exponential function. Right, so with a question like this, they will definitely ask you to calculate the formula from a given sketch. So the first thing you always check for, did they give me a y-intercept, did they give me a random point, or did they give me the asymptotes? Alright, Now let's continue. So that was question A. So question B, I'm asking for the range of f in Afrikaans die waardeversameling van f. Alright, so looking at your range, I'm looking at the y. Alright, so let's quickly check what is happening with f of x. Sorry, not f of x, I mean h of x. Alright, so h of x is my hyperbola, so I can see that it can basically be any y value except my intercept. Alright, so my range will be y element of real numbers, but y cannot be equal to my intercept, which is y equal to 0. Alright, the second question I want to know is what will be the value of a reflection of h of x in the x-axis. Alright, so let me quickly write down. So reflection of the x-axis of h of x. Now remember, whenever something is reflected in the x-axis, it means that your y sign has to change. Okay, so we take our original formula. So our original h of x was equal to 1 over x. Now if it gets reflected in the x-axis, it means that y sign has to change, so it becomes minus y equals to 1 over x. However, I don't like this minus, I'm dividing on both sides of minus 1, so y is actually equal to minus 1 over x. Alright, we can do the same for the reflection of g of x. So at the moment my g of x is equal to a half to the power of x plus 1 over 2. Now if I also have a reflection in my x-axis, it means my y sign has to change, and it becomes negative y equals to 1 over 2 to the power of x plus a half. And to get rid of it, I have to divide everywhere with a negative 1. So it actually becomes minus 1 over 2 to the power of x minus 1 over 2. Alright, so remember reflection, your signs changes. If it was a reflection in the y-axis, my x sign would have changed. Alright, and then the last question I can ask you is to determine a average gradient. Alright, so let's get the average gradient between, let's say, point A and my y-intercept. Of G. Alright, so I want to get the average gradient between A and y-intercept of G. Now remember, whenever you have to work out a gradient, so wanneer ook al die gradient van iets moet uitwerk, you know that the formula of gradient is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So to be able to substitute values in, you have to get the coordinates. So we're going to get the coordinates of A, which is 1, 1. And we're going to get the coordinates of my intercept of G. So my y-intercept of G is at the point 1.5. So 3 over 2. So my second point, let's call it point B, will be 3 over 2, 0. No, sorry. Other way around, it's a y-intercept, so it will be 0, 3 over 2. Now we just substitute these 2 points in. So in y's place, I'm going to put 1 minus 3 over 2 divided by 1 minus 0. Alright, and calculating this, I will get minus a half over 1, which is just negative 1 over 2. Alright, so this is a nice application question we usually like to ask. So whenever they ask you to calculate the average gradient, they will tell you between which 2 points. You go and get the coordinates of those 2 points and you substitute it into your gradient formula. Alright, same with your reflection. That's also a nice question to ask, as well as your domain, your range, and your asymptotes. and they will also definitely ask you to calculate the formulas of your functions. Alright, that is that for the exam pack. I hope this helped, and definitely have a look at the second exam pack, which is all about paper 2.